So I was like, you know what? I'm doing it myself. So in 2018, I'll never forget, we was off from the government because it was Columbus Day, really Indigenous Peoples Day, right?
Yeah.
But we were off because the government is closed on that day. So I was like, all right, I'm about to get to work on my business. So it was a building in Philly on Henry Avenue that my husband and I had drove by a few months ago. And I said, I would love to have that building. Well, I searched it, looked it up, and I saw that it was sold to another nonprofit organization. So I called them. I reached out to the nonprofit organization and I was like, hey, I'm Krissi. I work for the government, but I have the nonprofit, blah, blah, blah. So it just so happens, this is God, right? The person who picked up the phone was the COO, right under the CEO of the company, and he was a
Wow.
20-year Army veteran. Tell
Let's
me God ain't
go.
real.
Let's go.
So he's like, oh, okay, I was in the military, and of course I had done my research. So I said, I would like to come in and give you all a presentation of my business plan. They said, let's do it. Set up a meeting. I went in, I blew them away with the business plan that I had. So they had a bunch of houses in the northeast section of Philadelphia that they hadn't been using for years, and it was just sitting vacant. So I said, how about we take those houses? I have a list of veterans that we could get into those houses. And now we start, wrapping services around them. You can make extra money by charging them rent. They was like, okay, let's try it. So we started this pilot program. That was 2018. It's 2024. I'm still partnered with that organization. The pilot program is still going. We've housed about 45 homeless veterans into their own homes since that time. And it's just amazing. It's what I love to do. So that was the first project. So then in response to the pandemic, the city of Philadelphia put out a RFP, a request for proposal, for nonprofits to house homeless individuals. So I applied for the proposal and we won the contract. So that was the second project. So now we have a house with 15 rooms, and we're housing veterans and homeless individuals in their own rooms because, as you probably can imagine, in a congregate style homeless setting, it's like bunk beds. It's like 20 bunk beds in a room, right? That's the typical shelter. So now we're introducing something different because of COVID. Y'all can't be stacked up in a room like that to each other. With each other. So now you have your own room. So now this is a different style of shelters, right? With your own room. So that did so successful. The city came back to me and they were like, hey, do you want to open up another one? And I'm like, I sure do.
Hey, family. This is Jay Willis coming back with another episode of Wealth is a Journey podcast. Guys, episode 68. 68 weeks of consistency. We're getting it done out here, getting out good information. Hopefully it's changing people's lives. If you are new to this podcast, thank you so much for joining us. On this podcast, we talk about faith, family, and finances, among other things. If you are a return listener or watcher of this podcast, thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully we are adding value to your lives and helping you on your way to these M's. Because guys, we get into the M's. All right. So hopefully it's helping you get into the M's faster. So today we are in for a very, very special treat. I have one of my family members from MMU, Miss Krissi Judd. She's in the building today to talk about all the things that she has going on her way to a Billy. Her nickname is a Billy Krissi, and she has a lot of things going on, and I'm super excited to have a conversation with her today about the things that she has going on, and hopefully, again, it'll enrich your guys' lives. So, Krissi, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Chad, my brother Chetty. No, we are definitely family, MMU family. So I'm very, Grateful to have been invited on your podcast. Congratulations on 68 episodes. I'm so
Thank you.
super proud of you. That is amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And guys, if you haven't noticed, she called me Chetty. She is a part of the petty gang. All right. She I call her a petty Chrissy when we're on the MMU calls. She's super petty, but that's my folks nonetheless, man. And I'm so excited to talk to her today. So Chrissy, my first question. Well, first of all, I'm sorry. Can you introduce yourself if you don't mind? Just a small snapshot of who you are, and then we're gonna get into it, please.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, first of all, I am a God-fearing woman. I'm a woman of God, believer in Yahweh Shai, what the world knows as Jesus Christ, forever. And I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I am a business owner, entrepreneur, I'm a philanthropist, all the things. And you know what, Jay, I'm a servant. I'm a
Yes.
servant. I'm a servant leader. I like to consider myself. Every business that I have is in the service industry. Is about uplifting others, serving others, and helping others, grow and become better versions of themselves.
Love it, love it, love it. Also, she is a podcaster. We'll
I
get into
am.
that later. We'll get into that later, but she's a podcaster as well. I listen, guys. I gotta this is my people's right here, man. And any podcaster holds a special place in my heart because I know the grind. I know how difficult it is to come up with topics and be able to articulate your point and get a point across that's going to reach the masses and hopefully help somebody's life. So any podcaster has a special place in my heart, man, because I know what it takes. So, um, Chrissy,
Yeah.
my first question to you is we are a part of the MMU, and this is the part anybody that's on the MMU family that comes on this podcast. I always like to ask, who were you before you joined MMU? And who are you now? And if you don't know who MMU is, it's the morning meetup hosted by David Shands. He's a podcaster as well. And it's a community of entrepreneurs that talk about different topics. They have different people come in and speak and so forth and so on to help you on your way to being a successful entrepreneur. So I just wanted to make sure I gave that caveat. But who were you before and who are you now as a result of joining MMU?
Shane, let me just preface this by saying if you are an entrepreneur and you don't have a mentor or a group of people who is just empowering you, uplifting you, you can learn from, guys, you need to be in the morning meetup. That is where it's happening at. And Che, I'm so glad you asked that question because prior to coming into the morning meetup, I was always inquisitive, right? I always wanted to know how things worked, ask questions, how to do this. And I always had this like fearless spirit. I was never afraid to try new things. In college, I was in everything, Black Student Union, theater, dance group, um, everything I just did what I wanted to do. And so that translated into my adulthood. And so before the MMU, I just didn't have the guidance. I didn't have anyone. My parents weren't entrepreneurs. My dad was a hustler, but he didn't have a business. Like, he would cut grass or, wash cars or whatever he could do to get money, but he didn't have a formalized business. And so nobody in my family did. So I didn't grow up seeing that or knowing what to do. So when I started with the MMU in the end of 2021, November 2021, I was just like, this is where I need to be. It built my confidence. It helped me get around people who were doing the things, who were already at the places that I aspired to be and get to. I just learned so much about how to run a business, how to market my business, just all the things entrepreneurship. And it has just been life-changing. I'll tell you a quick story. Before I got into the MMU, my very first entrepreneur venture was a food truck. So I had a food truck here in Philly on Temple campus from 2013 to 2016. It was called Natasha's Caribbean Cafe. We did very well. We was making $600 a day, right? I had no
Wow.
mentor. I had no guidance. I didn't know anyone with a food truck. It was just something that I wanted to do. So I did it. But that came at a very costly lesson for me. And
Mhm.
so it was like one of the darkest times of my life because I had worked very hard to build up my credit score. I had an 822 credit score. And then I met this business partner on Craigslist. Don't judge me. And
No, good.
I didn't
Yeah.
know, right? And he turned out to be just a sleaze bag. He's a pathological liar, and he eventually ran the business in the ground. I was mortified. I was working at the Department of Veterans Affairs at the time, and so I was using my money that I was making at the VA to fund the business, and I wasn't paying my mortgage. So I almost lost my home.
Wow.
God is good. I had no friends. My cousin, she had just came into a couple of million from her dad passing away. I was like, please help me save my house, my kids. She was like, no. I had nowhere to turn, right? So I
Mhm.
just gave it to God. I'm like, okay, God, what do I do? A couple of weeks later, the mortgage company called and they're like, hey, listen, we're getting ready to start the foreclosure on your home. And what are you going to do? Do you have the money to pay? I owed like 10 grand at this point. And I was like, no, I don't have the money to pay. And then they was like, okay, well, we do have a program. This is the loan modification program, right? That they introduced me to. And for those who don't know, that's when you put all the money that you owe onto the back of your loan. So they was like, let's see if you qualify. So I went through all the documentation, sent them all the stuff. And lo and behold, I qualified. So I was able to save my home, but it was a very valuable lesson. You need mentors, right? You need to be around people who can save you from these costly mistakes. So this is when BOB was born. I was like, if I had like a platform or someone, something to help me get through these times where I can just go and tap in, even a morning meetup. This was in 2013 to 2016. So I knew nothing about a morning meetup or any group of entrepreneurs. So I basically did it on my own and it cost me a lot, almost cost me my home. And, I had children. So that was a very scary time. But now, since being in the morning meetup, I know to have mentors. I know to ask plenty of questions. I know to do research. I just didn't have that guidance. And so I created BOB also to give Black business owners not only the guidance that they need, but access or information about access to funding, business credit, being able to search and find other business owners who can help you along your journey.
Woo! Man, I have so many questions. Um, so regarding that, how did you mentally get through that tough time? Because like I know for me, like I have rental properties, and if a contractor doesn't call me back immediately when I know that there's something going on at the house that I need fixed,
Mhm.
I'm in a panic sometimes. So and that's small, but you're almost on the verge of losing your house.
Mhm.
How did you mentally get through that portion of your life? Like that's crazy.
Yes. So it was really my faith. Because when they said, when you can't do anything else, just stand. I had asked all of my family members, all of my friends, people, business associates, and everyone said no. I can't borrow any money. I'm not giving you anything. I don't have it, whatever the case, right? And only thing I could do was just pray and keep the faith. God, you gave me this house. I know I made a horrible mistake. I'm human, right? But I
Sure.
need you to come through for me. And he did, as always.
That's
It,
awesome.
it was it was my faith check.
That's good. And I think a lot of people, if they were in the situation that you were in, would probably cut those people off that said, no, I can't help you, or I don't want to help you because this is a huge mistake. You made it, you
Yeah.
made your bed, you lying, and whatever the case may be. But those are the times, or those pivotal times, in my opinion, that are helpful when you don't get the thing that you think that you need. Like your answer is just around the corner, but it's going to come in a different form. Like,
Hmm.
so you want these people to save you, but maybe it's God trying to tell you, hey, rely on me.
Yep.
And then that's the thing that makes your faith even stronger for the next storm that comes, to be able to lean on him for that and get wisdom and guidance and all the things, man. So
Exactly. Exactly, Shay. And I knew it. I couldn't see it going through it. But once I came on the other end and no one came to my rescue, I said, okay, God, I understand what you wanted me to do. You wanted me to rely solely on you, depend solely on you, not put my trust and faith in man, because as you can see, they let you down. Just trust in me. And I had no other choice at that point, you know? So
yeah.
yeah, it
So what
definitely built my faith.
my last question, and then we can move on. But
Okay.
what lesson did you learn from that business owner, the co-owner? What
Mhm.
lesson did you learn from working with that person?
Ooh, child, a plethora of lessons. Number one, and David spoke on this, you don't trust nobody.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't, I'm thinking other than your spouse, right? You
Yep.
just don't put your trust in people because although we had met on Craigslist, we had known each other for a year before we started, the business. And it was just like a lion a wolf in sheep's clothing, because the person, they started out very good, and we had our business plan, and we got the EIN, everything was good. And then when that money started coming in and we
Mhm.
was racking in all that money, I mean, things just went left real fast. And so, having some processes in place, I learned that, to be able to account for the money that's coming in.
Yes.
Um, with a restaurant is very, very difficult because it's hard to determine how many platters you're going to get out of this much food. You can guesstimate, right? But if
Sure,
things
sure.
come up short, you don't know if your staff is giving away free food. It's really difficult to gauge. So that was another thing. And then it was um don't don't put your life in jeopardy. Like, I stopped paying my mortgage to keep up this business. I should have never done that. Like, the business could have went to the ground. For all I care, I have children, I have my home. I should have never put that in jeopardy to keep the business going. So it was just a lot of lessons learned on
Yes.
going through that. But right now, Che, I could
Yeah.
take somebody who wants to open up a food truck and I could tell them from A to Z everything they need to do, what to watch out for L&I, this, that, because I learned so much during that time. So it was a costly mistake, but it was a huge lesson learned. And I
Yeah.
have that knowledge for the rest of my life. Nobody can take that away.
Absolutely. I agree. And I think that if we're paying attention to the things that happen to us, we'll understand, hey, we just don't want to do that over here. Or we can just give somebody that information. Hey, I have an idea. I'm thinking about this. Hey, Krissi, what do you think about this? Like, nah, I actually went through this and it's a story to
Mm.
tell
Yep.
somebody else. But I think the oh man, it was just on the tip of my tongue when you were talking. Oh man. I forget, but it was basically along the lines of the lessons that we learn as we go through them. Oh, I got it now. A lot of times, business owners, we go
Hmm.
through things, and all the signs are saying, "Hey, maybe this is not the best idea." But because sometimes maybe a little bit of pride, or it may be I don't want to feel like a failure. We just keep going down that road, and all the signs are saying, "Hey, stop,
Yep.
stop." So again,
I
this
ignored them all.
yeah, no, it happened to me as well. So don't think it's just you. But
Mhm.
again, the purpose of this podcast is to give people different nuggets and ideas. Like, hey, she went through this. I'm going through this now. Maybe I need to chill. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So maybe somebody can learn from this lesson here. That was a really really good lesson, and hopefully somebody learned from that. Uh,
Yes, your testimony is powerful. We have to keep telling our stories and our mistakes, no matter how embarrassing it may seem, but somebody is going through that. You know, all of our trials and tribulations is nothing new. You know, someone has gone through it before, someone will go through it again. So we need to keep speaking up about the things that we're experiencing. That's one thing I love about David too, is because we go through things with him so we can learn like in real time.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And another thing I love about the morning meetup is it's a circle of people who are not only trying to do well, but they want to see you do well also. And I feel like in order for you to be successful, you need people around you that want to see you win and can give
Mm-hmm.
you different ideas on maybe your thinking needs a little tweaking here and there for you to get to
Mm-hmm.
where you want to go. And one of the things that was significant for me, and you may not have even realized it, was a one conversation that we had at the Impact Summit. And shout out to Aaliyah Johnson Roberts. She had an Impact Summit about a month or two ago that we were both vendors for.
Mm-hmm.
We had a conversation, and you were like, "Yeah, I met Aaliyah, and we were flying on a plane, and we were both sitting in first class, and you just like breeze past that." And I'm like, "Yo, am I thinking too small to say, hey, well, I want to sit in first class, but I'm just gonna go back and sit in aisle 15B." You know what I'm saying? That was that was one. That was one.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second thing is you were like, hey, do you know this, that, or the third? I forget what exactly it was. And then you were
Mm-hmm.
like, yo, you just live in your own little bubble, huh? And I'm like, man, I need to get out more. I need to network more. I need to get
Mm-hmm.
out of my little comfort, my little comfortable bubble and
Yeah.
start meeting people and networking and stuff like that. So where did you get those two things from to say, hey, this is what I want and this is what I'm going after as far as sitting in first class or do I don't know if you do that regularly, but the way you talked about it sounded like you do it regularly. And then
Yes. So
also about the getting out of your comfort zone to network with people.
mm-hmm. So when I was a little kid, I was one of the kids who always got the note home. Your daughter talks too much in
Yes.
class. She's very talkative. That was me. I've always been very talkative. And I get it from my dad because he goes outside. Like if we're going somewhere, he knows this person. Hey, we get stopped 10 times. My dad is very sociable and I get it from him. So I seen that growing up. And it just became like a part of me. Like it's like an innate part of who I am. And I use that to my advantage because I'm friendly. Like I like to smile, I like to greet people, and I use that to my advantage for my business. So I do think that, matter of fact, I know that I got it from my father. I was raised by my dad as a single dad, and a lot of the things that I saw him do, you know, quite naturally, I picked up on it, good and bad. Now I'm fighting the other things, but things like being social, no, we gotta fight them genes.
Oh yeah, for
But
sure.
being social and just putting yourself out there, meeting new people, I really enjoy that. Now, of course, sometimes you have to recharge your social battery because it is tiresome. And especially with BOB, because I constantly have to talk to business owners and make sure that they are aware, they're getting signed up in the app and all of that. And so it can become draining. Have to go be by myself for a little bit, but then I come back and I'm ready to do it all over again. As far as flying first class, somebody gave me that. Was it Myron? I was listening to somebody and he was like, once you sit in first class, you never gonna want to sit in the back again. And so my husband and he's the same way. When we flew to California, we sat in first class. We was like, we don't never want to. I mean, it's just the treatment. And
Yeah.
I feel like knowing that abundance is our birthright and this is what we're supposed to have, and that money comes to me easily, frequently, and abundantly, there's no scarcity. Why not? Why not? You're always going to have an influx flow of money at all times. There's no scarcity mindset. So why not? Especially if you're doing the work, right? Of course, obviously, faith without works is dead. If you're just sitting around not doing anything, yeah. But if you're constantly doing the work, the money will flow. And so, yeah, I love sitting in first class. I don't do it every flight, but
Okay. All right.
I do.
No,
I do love it.
that's good. Because again, like I said, you need people like that to kind of reinforce your thinking, and maybe it needs to be tweaked a little bit. Because
Hmm.
we flew first class one time, and I was like, we went to Vegas, and it was great. We had a great time. Came back on first class, it was amazing. I'm like, yo, I don't want to go back.
Hmm.
And then we go on vacation again. I'm looking at the price. I'm like, yeah, we
I
could do so
know.
much more with that money. But again, it's a scarcity mindset.
Hmm.
Money comes to me in abundance as well. So
Yeah.
why not enjoy the stuff that you worked so hard for?
Yes. Yes. That's a great point.
Yeah, nah, I appreciate that.
And
What?
you know, to your point, not to be frivolous, you know, we still have to budget.
No doubt. No
That's your
doubt.
thing.
No
But
doubt.
when if you, like you said, you work so hard, you put aside the money for vacation, let's get some fun. And then for the children to experience that treatment at such a young age, it's really opening their minds, you know, to so much more at that young age.
No, absolutely. And I feel like exposure, you expose them to different things, then they become accustomed to that. And then hopefully they grow up just being accustomed to those things and know, hey, this is what it takes to get to and be able to purchase or, fly first class or go on these nice trips or whatever the case may be, or eat at
Right.
nice restaurant,
Yeah.
whatever the case may
Yeah.
be. But it does take a level of work and things like that
Hmm.
to achieve that.
Are you tired of living paycheck to paycheck? Are you tired of using your credit cards as an emergency fund? Are you tired of getting stressed out anytime you think about money? If the answer to any of those questions is yes, I'm here to help. My name is Che Willis, and I help families living paycheck to paycheck live the life that they want to live through budgeting and investing. And I understand the word budgeting may be scary. However, we're trying to take the fear out of that word. All we're doing is telling our money where to go, as well as reducing our expenses and taking that money, marching it into the marketplace, and making us some money babies. That's all we're doing. So if you need help, please go to wealthisajourney.com. Again, wealthisajourney.com. There are free resources on there for budgeting tools. There are digital products on there to help you on your investing journey. And there's one-on-one coaching. So if you need help, go to wealthisajourney.com today. I look forward to seeing you soon.
I wanna ask you a question, because I heard that you said that you live with your dad. He was a
Hmm.
single father.
Hmm.
Um, I My dad wasn't necessarily, he was off and on again in my life, and I believe that because I lived that way, but I did have my stepdad who was an amazing father figure in my life.
Hmm.
But I believe not having my real dad created that dog in me to be the best father that I could be. So was your mom there? My dad was still alive, but he just wasn't there. Was your mom still alive and not around, or was she deceased?
I got another quick story, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Go. Go.
So my mom was very much around. She was on drugs. But as a little girl, I always wanted her. You know, I'm a girl. Like every girl wants their mother. So I
Yep.
would have my dad. I'm like, Dad, I would cry. I want my mom. Let's go find her. She's somewhere in Brooklyn. We're from Brooklyn.
Mhm.
So my dad would put me on his neck. That's that up until I was about 5. I always rode on my dad's neck and
Mhm.
we would go looking. We never could find her. So we stopped, we moved to Georgia, and then I that yearning, because it was like a part of me missing, like I didn't understand a part of myself, you know, who was I, what type of woman was my mother. So I called my dad. I'm like, Dad, what's the last address you know of my grandmother, which is my mom's mother? And he's like, well, here's the last address. She hasn't moved since you were born, so this is the address she's at. So I go there and I said, hey, you know, I'm Sandy's daughter. I'm your granddaughter. And I said, I would like to find my mom. At this time, I'm 25, right?
Mhm.
So she said, well, honey, this is the last address and phone number I have of your mother, but she changes phone numbers like she changed underwears. But here you go. So I was
Mm,
like, okay, cool. So I called her right then and there. The phone was disconnected. So I drive to the house. So I knock on the door, and then this lady, it's like a brownstone. So the lady looks down out the window. She's like, who is it? I'm like, hey, it's Cassandra there. I'm her daughter. So she goes, honey, your mother is in jail. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, can you just give her my number and tell her that her daughter came looking for her? But I was so excited because I'm like, I'm close to finding my
yeah,
mom. Like she's still here, she still lives here, she's still alive. I had no idea if she was even dead or alive until I went to my grandmother. So a couple of months go by, and she calls me, and she's just like, she was in jail, she had a rough life, blah blah blah, and she just, wasn't gonna drag us through her drug addiction, which I was so very grateful for. And
yeah,
I had to respect her honesty, but not having her around did the same thing to me that it did to you. It First of all, my first child, I was a teenage mom, so I had my daughter at 17, but I wanted a girl. Even though I was so young, I was like, God, I just want you to give me a daughter so I can be the best mom that I never had. And God answered my prayers, and my first child was a girl. And so that door, she had everything. And she actually had very good, her father and her grandparents were very involved in her life. So I was able to go back to school because I was still in high school. So I was able to go back to college. I got my degree, my bachelor's degree. I went back for my master's, and it just set a fire in me, like, I'm just never going to be that mom. I'm
yeah,
just never going to be that absentee mother, no matter what the situation is. And so from then, from meeting her at 25 years old and always being around my dad, I just started to understand more about myself. You know, like little things I used to be like, where do I get this from? My dad doesn't do this, but it was my mom. And it's crazy that like I've been telling you, gotta fight them genes because they are so embedded in our DNA. Even though she wasn't even around, I still had some of her ways.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. I think that's probably where I get my petty nature from. Like me and my dad had a like as I got older, we had a decent relationship, but it was a lot of it was like surfacey, but he would give me a lot of good information. And I think
Hmm.
that's where I get that from. And he could be petty too, because we had a disagreement right around the time I was about to get married, and I haven't spoke to him since.
Still to
Called
this
him
day?
to this day. And I've been
What?
married almost 19 years, yeah. And so it's like even though you go through bad things and stuff like that, you can either go left or you can go right. Like you can either like, hey, well, I didn't have my dad in my life, so I'm gonna treat my kids bad or whatever the case may be. Or you can say, hey, you know what? I didn't have my father in my life. I know how that feels, or I know how it made me feel. So now I'm going to be the best parent I can be based on the information I have about what I didn't have. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Or there's one other way. You
okay.
cannot have a good parent, and then you can also not be a good parent. Because I've seen
Facts.
that too.
Facts. That is a fact.
Hmm.
And that leads me to my next question, Chrissy.
Yeah.
Um, and I think we had talked about this one time before, that we try to give our kids everything that we didn't have to a fault sometimes.
Hmm.
Do
Hmm.
you do you do you fall victim to that? And then how do you stop yourself? Because I almost like I was falling victim to that up until the pandemic. Um,
Hmm.
I was trying to get my son everything, restaurants, money, all the things, right? And I'm like, okay, well, if something ever happened to us, because it was pandemic time, so if something ever happened to us, like how's he going to be able to handle the things that we're leaving him? Money, real estate, all the things, right? So
Yeah.
at that point, I'm like, okay, I'm going to give him money still, but I'm also going to teach him how money works and all the things. And he's going to understand, like, hey, if I say no, there's a reason behind it. But a
Hmm.
lot of us, and I talk to parents doing budgeting and so forth, and they're like, well, I'm paying my son's cell phone bill and he's 27 years old. I'm like,
Mm.
well, does he have a job? Yeah, well, I'm still paying. Like, no, well, let's not do that because it's only
Yeah.
hurt. So my long story short, my question is, how do you stop yourself from overdoing it, giving your kids the everything that you didn't have? How do you do that?
My husband. I have to. I have to give all credit to him because Shay, I grew up very, very poor. I mean, I grew up in projects in Brooklyn. And we talked about this, right? Roaches and stuff.
Yeah.
The whole building had roaches. Um, it's the projects, we food stamps, the whole nine. So once I became, first of all, when I started working for the federal government, I was like, all right, bam, I got my good government job. This is up from here, right?
Yeah.
My daughter, she was the only child for 10 years. And she had an iPad at 7. She had everything. When I say everything, all the way up until college, my husband and I, we paid for her college tuition. And she went to a very prestigious college. It's not a HBCU, it's a PWI. However, the tuition was expensive. It was in upstate New York. And we paid it so she wouldn't have $190,000 worth of debt like I did. Now, granted, I have 2 degrees, but still, I wanted her to graduate debt free.
Yes.
That was a mistake. And I'm just going to be honest, because she didn't have any skin in the game. If she would have worked to pay some of her own tuition instead of having your parents just shell out money so you could just live freely and then graduate freely, I think she would have appreciated what the sacrifice we made a little more. And it's not to say that she's not, she's ungrateful. It's just that the ambition and the drive is a little lackluster because she didn't have to do anything. She didn't have to work for it. She didn't have to pay anything. We sent care packages, so it was laid out for her. And now we're looking back like, man, we shouldn't have did that. Like, we kind of crippled her. We kind of made it too comfortable for her. A lot of times when you just make it so comfortable for your kids, they don't have that ambition, that drive. They just don't have it because they didn't have to have it. And so I really, really depend on my husband to let me know when he calls it over coddling or spoiling the kids too much, because in my eyes, it's like, you ain't never gonna have no roaches. Like, you ain't never gonna be hungry. You ain't never gonna have to do this, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes, and I know you may not agree, but maybe they do need to see a roach or two. Not with us,
just not in this house. Just not in this house. Yeah, they can see him, man.
Not in this house, but take them somewhere, where there are roaches, or take them to, how they say, like, Scare Straight, take them to a jail or something where they can see, listen, if you don't stay on the right path that we're trying to tell you to, this is a possibility that your life could end up on, or some examples of that. So, and then I pray too a lot, because I want to do what God wants me to do with these children are a gift from him. So I want to be very careful on how I handle this gift from God, how I take care of this gift, what I'm teaching them. I want to be very careful that what the things that we're doing is in alignment with God's word. And we know that we're not supposed to spoil the child.
Yeah.
The Bible tells us that.
Yeah. Hey, I was talking to my man, that goes along the lines of what you were saying. I was talking to my man one day, and I was like, yo, we're doing really well for ourselves. And we are now the parents that we looked up to or saw on TV, like maybe the Huxtables. I mean, not a doctor or lawyer or anything like that, but we're doing pretty well for ourselves, like all of us, right? And not having the things that we wanted created that dog in us that we gotta go get it. And I think now the kids, they don't have that because we just want to give them everything. So there's that balance that we have to have, if there is such a thing as a balance in that, to not give them too much, but then also allow them to have that dog in them, man. And that's what I'm kind of battling within myself. Like, yo, like how do we create that dog without without going too far? I don't know, man.
Yeah, having them earn things. So this is something we've implemented now. We have like this chart, like a chore chart for the boys. And it's like, okay, did you do your chores this week? Because he wants what's it called? Robux, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, let's check the chart. Did you make your bed every day this week? Did you do your chores, do the dishes? Did you vacuum? Did you clean your bathroom? So if they don't earn it, then they're not getting it. So now it's starting to set in because Blue, which is my youngest, he's 10, he goes, oh, mom, I want a pair of Jordans, but I know I got to earn it. So I'm going to work hard. So the whole last month of school, he worked so hard, and the teachers were sending home notes, 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 notes. So his birthday's on Juneteenth. He earned his Jordans.
Let's go. Let's go, Blue. Yes, sir. Uh,
Yes.
one thing I did that again goes along the lines of what you were saying is I had a tenant move out in inner
Mm-hmm.
city in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And we go to the house. I'm like, hey, come to the house with me. We're gonna clean it up. We're gonna paint. We're gonna do some things, whatever. He walks through the house and he's like, yo, somebody lived here? I'm like, yeah, because it's not what he's used to seeing, right? It was a move out. So there were
Mm-hmm.
some things that needed to be cleaned up and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, what do you think? He's like, I don't think I would ever want to live somewhere like this. I'm like, okay, well, this is why we talk about, school and doing
Mm-hmm.
your chores and being respectful and
Yeah.
doing all the things. So it was kind of like a scare straight moment, but
Yeah.
like I feel like also like he's going to know again what hard work takes to maintain again those things that we're going to leave him. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but that was a cool moment for me
Yeah.
to let them know, like, yo, this is why we're telling you to do all the things that we're telling you to do in school and being respectful and all the things, man. So that was kind of like my
Absolutely.
scare street moment.
Yeah. That's a good one. That's a good one. Like, if you don't want to live like this, then you better listen to what I'm telling you.
That's a
Yeah.
fact. That is a fact. So, Chrissy, you had mentioned earlier that you have an app. An
Yes.
app. That's huge.
Yeah.
And I get so excited when you talk about it. When we talk about our wins and what you have going on, you shoot your shot at different celebrities and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
That hey, I'm
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you about this app. It's going to be big. I'm telling you, you better be a
Yeah.
part of it now. So, how did you come up with that? With an app again? I know you mentioned it before, but like the
Yeah.
steps that you took to get to where it
Mm-hmm.
is today.
Absolutely. So, as I mentioned, when I had no one to turn to, I didn't have any guidance. And when I was doing my lunch truck, and also when we were traveling, and we wanted to, so buying black and bringing back that $1 trillion that we spend in the economy, it has to be a lifestyle. You
Mhm.
have to be intentional every single day that, okay, I want to go on a date. Let me look for some black restaurants, or I want to buy a shirt. Let me find a black, like it just has to be second nature to want to support black people and bring the money back. Even as
Sure.
something simple as grocery shopping. Like, where's the black grocery store, right? But it's very difficult to find because, as we know, everybody comes into our neighborhoods and set up shop,
Yep.
but we can't go into their neighborhoods and set up shop. We just let everybody come in and take over our communities, and we support them and we buy from them, but we don't do it for each other.
Facts.
So it just used to bother me so much, and I know that it's my ancestors spirits inside of me, because it's just that marginalized communities that we have, and just seeing how our people are so often ostracized in so many different ways, whether it be systemically, educationally, whatever the case may be. And it's just within me to do something about it. I've always been a visionary, like, well, what can I do about it? I'm not just going to sit here and talk about it. This is part of the reason why I got fired from the government, right? Because I'm like, I'm going to do something about it, and I don't care who doesn't like it. Like,
Yeah.
justice, that's my thing. So I said, I want to create something. And I started out with apps without code. And I was like, okay, I found Tara Reid on Instagram, and I reached out to her, and I thought that she was going to build the app for me, but it was her teaching me how to build the app. So I didn't want to do that because I really didn't have time to do that. Like, I'm working for the government, I got kids, all this stuff. So I'm like, nah, that's not what I want. So God had given me this idea in 2016, somewhere around there. I was just sitting on it till about 2018. 2018, I was like, I want to do something with this. So after that didn't work out, I kept looking. I came across a tech company called Questone. I reached out to them and I was like, hey, I have this idea for an app. I want to build it. And I knew that there were other people doing it, but I wanted to be like a holistic viewpoint of the business owner. So not just you can search for, it's so much more than a directory, right? It's about your spirituality, it's about your finances, it's about your financial literacy, it's about your legacy that you want to live. Like, we take the whole person, and we want you to come into the app and get the guidance and the knowledge that you wouldn't otherwise have, especially in the school systems, because we know they're not teaching it there.
Right.
So once Questone came on, we began to build the app, and it was a long, expensive process. But just God, he just always provided everything we needed. And then the owner of Questone, he believed in it so much, he partnered with me on it. So now this is a tech company that's now going to partner with BOB to continue building it out. So now I'm not even paying, right? Because they're my partner. You see how God brings people in your life, how he works?
Yes.
And so we got it in the so y'all can go and download the app in the Google Play and the app stores. Find BOBS, find Black owned businesses, all one word. And so ever since then, since it launched, we initially launched in 2020, but then the pandemic obviously hit. So it was like, all right, well, what do we do now? And so we kind of just sat on it. And then I was like, all right, it's time to do something. We have to get going. And so we relaunched just last month. Was it? No, earlier this month, June 1st. And, we're just on a mission to get 1 million businesses into the app and just start there and see how we can bring, close that wealth gap, learn about investing, hear from different day traders or, stock market experts, all in the app. Like, we want to bring everything inside the app because this is something that we built. This is something for us. And what I love about it is not just for one business, it's for any and all Black business. And what's it called? We identify a Black business the same way the minority certifications do. If you're 51% or more owned by a BIPOC individual, then you can come into the app.
That's dope. That's dope. One thing that I'm learning, and I've talked about it before on this podcast, is that we have this idea in our head that it's the thing that we want to accomplish is so difficult before we even start, which sometimes causes us not to start.
Yeah.
However, when we do start, like God, outside forces, whatever you believe in, me, God, Krissi, God, will bring the thing and bring people to you to help you accomplish that goal, man. And I think there's so much power in just starting.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. And this podcast is like a testament of that. Like, starting out, it was disgusting. It was ugly. However, it's not anymore. But
Right.
what I'm saying, that what I'm getting at is that people, if you are listening to anything that we are saying that now, is whatever your goals and dreams are, if it's an app, if it's real estate, if it's podcasting, if it's financial literacy, whatever the case may be, whatever you're not proficient in or good at, just start. just start and then look for the evidence of the creator wanting you to accomplish your goal.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of power in that, man, and I think a lot of people miss that.
Yeah, it's a lot of power in having faith. Faith is the hope, right? It's the hope. It
Yeah.
tells you right there. It is the hope. If you hope and you're like, okay, this is what my dream is, this is what I want to do. And like you said, God will also show you if you're not on the right path.
Yep.
Because he did show me with the lunch truck, but
Mhm.
I did not want to fail. I did not want to take heed to when God was saying, don't do this. And he showed me with the business partner. He showed me when things didn't go as planned, doors were closing that I really, really wanted them to open. One time we had an investor come in. I didn't even know. The business partner didn't even tell me about the investor. And he invested something like 15,000 into the business, and the business partner ran off, like all these things. And I still keep going. Well, I still got to keep going. No. At that
Yeah.
point, it should have been the time where I was like, you know what? Maybe this isn't it. Maybe I need to take a step back, pray about it, and just listen to what God is telling me, because that wasn't it. But when you see doors start to open and miraculous things just start to happen, and just out of the blue, you get this money, or you get a phone call from somebody who is looking to support what you're doing, that's when you know you got to keep going. Things just
Yes.
happen
Yes.
miraculously.
Yes. And for those who don't or not, go to church or have a relationship with God, the feeling, I'll say, that you may get is there's a peace when you have an idea and you start executing on the idea. There's a peace. Now, I'm not going to say that there's not going to be things that come up to try to stop you from doing your thing, but
Mm-hmm.
there's a peace, there's a rest that you have inside, that that for me anyway, I check on the inside, anything I'm investing in, and I pray about it. And if there's a peace on the inside, I know that that's something that I need to do. Like if there's an anxious, I got to do it now, I got to do it now, I got to do it now, then I know that that's not God for me.
Yeah.
Everybody's relationship is different, but that's just for me. So I like to kind of break things down for people who may not, you know what I'm saying, who may not.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge
Absolutely.
deal. Having God in your business is a big deal. Is
It's
a
a
big
big deal. It's a
yes,
big deal. Shameless
yes.
plug. If y'all haven't accepted them, you might want to do it.
Let's go. Krissi, one other way that you are building wealth is through real estate. And
Yeah.
you talked about it the other day on this call, man, and I was like, ooh, she gonna be super up.
Mm,
Hey, Krissi, can you just can you talk about the deal that you just executed on? And also, I want you to talk about the relationship that you built with the mentor before you executed on the deal, and then talk about the deal, because I think that's
yes.
important as well. Relationships
Yes.
and wealth building, I think, go hand in hand.
Absolutely, Che. So real estate has been in the back of my mind. Like, I used to buy these little courses or whatever. But again, I was comfortable working I never thought I would not be working for the government. Like, right. I started working there when I was 25, around about the same time I met my mom. And I was like, this is it. I'm retiring. I'm going to be here in my 60s. Right. And so I used to always want to get into real estate. I rented for a while. And it was just like, man, I would love to have my own, but I didn't have a mentor. I didn't know much about real estate. So therefore my confidence levels was low. Being in the morning meetup, David brought on Terica Lynn Smith, right? And it's something about her story that resonated so much with me because it was like kind of similar. And so God was like, she's the community. She's the one. I prayed about it. I talked to my godly friends about it. And they was like, if God is pushing you to be in that community, then yeah, you need to be in that community. So I invested in myself.
Mm-hmm.
and I joined her community. When I tell you that Terica makes you believe that you could do and be anything you want in real estate, I really do believe that. And she is just so anointed, not perfect or putting her on a pedestal or anything like that, but you could tell that she walks with God, that the spirit of God is in her. And so I just felt very comfortable with her, talking to her, asking her questions. She actually is like, she's not unreachable. You know how some classes you join, you barely can get the person on the line. You got a
Yep.
deal you in the middle of, and you can't reach nobody and send an email. It's not like that. We got the DMs on Telegram that her and her partner actually responds to. I just sent an inspection report and I said, hey, what do you think about this? He came back and gave me some detailed answers. I mean, it's just so good to have somebody who can hold your hand and say, hey, did you think about this? That has so much experience in real estate. So let me tell you this real quick. The first property that I put a offer in on once after I joined her course was a 12-unit, 1-bedroom apartment building. I was like, it ain't nothing I can't have. What, that 12-unit, I'm bidding on it. So my offer was accepted, but the hard money lender fell through. So I ended up not getting it. But when I tell you my confidence was through the roof, I'm like, oh, my offer was accepted on a 1-bedroom unit apartment building. Okay. It's nothing I can't do. So then, so now we found a duplex in West Philly, and it was the asking price was 149. We offered 140 and he accepted the offer. It's already a tenant living on the first floor. It's a 1-bedroom on the first floor, 2-bedroom on the second floor. Already got a tenant. The tenant been there for 7 years.
Let's
Okay.
go. Let's go.
So, and I always wanted a duplex, right? Or a multifamily unit.
Mm-hmm.
So we put the offer in, the offer was accepted. We put down our earnest money deposit. We're going through, we had our inspection done, about to get the appraisal, right? We're going through everything, and it's going to be in my business name, Che. This property is going to be in my business name. So when I tell you that having a mentor, man, it just makes so much of a difference in your life when you are going through different stages and phases of leveling up. It's
Yeah.
always good to have someone who's gone there before that you can tap into. You had to invest in yourself. I
Yes.
honestly, truly believe that I would not have had the confidence to even think about putting an offer in on a 12-unit apartment complex had I not invested in myself and got in the room with people who are doing much bigger things than I am.
Facts. Absolutely. And first of all, I'm gonna end that point with you didn't tell, you don't have to, but the area that she bought the house in, I already know is up. That 140, when she said 140, I'm like, in that area? I said,
Right.
no way. No way. But listen, man, Chrissy's
Mm-hmm.
Billy Chrissy's about to be a real thing. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you,
Yes.
man. I'm telling
Speak
you,
it back.
yes, yes. And shout out to you for executing, man. And I love that. Um, the thing about it is that now I'm realizing is that investing in yourself is one of the things that I think a lot of people are fearful of, because you hear about a lot of scams about
Yeah.
buying into courses and communities and stuff like that, man. But me being a part and investing in myself, being a part of this community here has changed my life. My wife even tells me like, "Yo, I see the difference in you and your confidence and the things that you're doing, and I got some things coming up too." And
Ooh,
the things that the
spicy.
thing, oh yeah, I'm telling you, man, but I never would have been in a position to be able to take advantage of the opportunities if I was not in this group.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, So like, so if you're on the fence about joining a community, obviously you want to make sure you want to vet it. You want to make sure that it makes sense for, you know, what you're doing and what you have going on, and it's heading in a direction that you want to go. But invest in yourself, man. Reading books has changed my life. And
Mhm.
not just reading the books, but executing on the things that I read. It's huge. Not just reading books, just for reading's
That's
sake.
the part. That part. That part, Shay. Executing. We can read all day till the
Yes.
cows come home,
Yeah.
right? But it's the and that is the hardest part.
Yeah.
Getting people to move is the hardest part. I don't know
Yes.
what it is. I
Yeah.
don't, but I know that is the hardest part. It's just getting people to execute and
Yes.
do what needs to be done to level up.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. And the last point is like I know it because of like the financial part of the things that I do in talking to different people. Like I know, like, yo, I know you need this information. I know you need to execute on this information. But for whatever reason, maybe they feel like it's maybe too late for me, or no, that's good for you, but I can't really do that. But like, yo, you got to invest in yourself, man. Like it's super important, man, for your for your confidence level, and then for your kids also to see your confidence level and know that they can do more than what you're doing. Like it's
Absolutely.
and all,
That's our goal, right?
yeah,
It's for
yeah,
our kids to be better than
yes,
us, to take it a
yes,
step further than we did. Um, One thing we like to focus on in BOB is you know how people always talk about your zone of genius, right?
yep,
Everybody has their zone of genius, what you do very well. What we're doing at BOB is we're taking your zone of incompetence and we are growing that part. So your zone of incompetence is things that you have no business doing in your business, right? We
mm,
talk about working in the business and on the business, two
yep,
different things. So with BOB, when you come into the community, into the app, now we have different packages that will help you with your zone of incompetence, whether that be AI, whether that be social media marketing, whether that be content, producing content, or whether that just be financial literacy. You need life insurance. You want to get to the next level in your business, scale and grow. Whatever that is, we do an intake assessment with you to find out where's your zone of incompetence? What is it that you have no business doing in your business? You should not be focusing on that. You should outsource that so that you can focus on your zone of genius and continue to grow that. That's how we partner with Black businesses to help them grow.
yes, yes, Chrissy, let's go. And if you do that, which again, read it in the 10 times is easier than two times book, that reading that book has changed my life forever
Mm,
because there was a lot of things that
same.
I was doing that I hated doing. Like it was
Yep.
like the bane of my existence, but I knew it was necessary for me to get the word out of what I was doing, how I could add value to people's lives, but I just hated doing it. So
Yeah.
now I have somebody who's doing the things that I hate, so now I can focus on the things that I love, which is
Yes.
teaching the financial literacy part and getting people on the right track with their personal finances and stuff. So what you said is a major bar, and make sure that you guys get in the app. I will put the information in the description so that they make sure that they get in the app, man, because it's going to make you a better business owner. It's going to
Mhm.
make you a better person because you're not going to be so bogged down with all the little stuff that you hate doing. You can
Yeah.
now outsource that to somebody else, and then you can make a ton more money and be a ton more effective in your home and in your business.
Yes. And not
So get
stressed
in,
out.
yeah. So get in the app. Get in the app.
Get in there. We take those things off of your plate so you can focus on what you love to do. And that's my favorite part because I've been in customer service for about 20 years now. That was my job at the VA, right? It was customer service, and I was there for 15 years. So that's my thing. Like, I know how to make a customer feel like they're the only customer in that business. And that's how every customer is supposed to feel when they come into your business. When they set up a consultation with you, it's just little teeny things that you would not even believe that we can implement that will have people talking about you to forever, like to all their friends, to everyone. Oh, did you go to this restaurant, or did you hit up this fractional CO? Whatever it is that you do,
Yep.
people will love it once we give you just these little nuances on what to do, how to interact. It's just little things that people don't think of.
Yeah. And I think now, for whatever reason, I don't know if the pandemic did it, but customer service is a lost art now, man. Like, you go into people's businesses and you order the wrong food, and you tell them about it, and then they act like they're upset with you for even mentioning that they
Right.
made the wrong food that you didn't even order. Like, come on, fam. Like, it's crazy, man. So I love customer service as well. So that like kind of piqued my interest there as well. So again, if you're on the fence about getting in the app and you have stuff in your business that you're doing that you hate doing, get in the app and then outsource it, man. I'm telling you, it'll change your life. And I'm the budget guy. I'm careful where I spend my money, but I
Mhm.
feel like also, if it's going to make your life better, it's worth it. Just like sitting
Yeah.
in first class, it's going to make your life better.
Right. It's definitely worth it. Definitely worth it.
Yes, yes. So Krissi, I know you also have a veterans home. If you wanna just touch on that real quick, I love what you're doing with that as well, man. You got a lot going on, Krissi. So that
I
that
know.
Billy is coming. That Billy's
God, I mean, I am just so grateful, and all praise to the Most High, because he, the ideas that he put into my heart, he actually allowed me to bring them to fruition. So I mentioned earlier I was fired from the federal government, right? So I'm I'm working at the VA, and I'm like, there's a better way that we could be helping these incompetent veterans and these homeless veterans. So, incompetent veterans is like veterans who can't manage their own finances for whatever reason. They may have dementia, Alzheimer's, they may have a TBI, traumatic brain injury, right? So, but for whatever reason, a third party, it could be an attorney, it could be their child, their wife, has to manage their finances. So it was my job to make sure that the third party, whoever that was not embezzling the money or misusing the money, mistreating the veteran, right?
yeah,
So I would go out and make sure. But when doing that, I'm like, there's a better way we could do this. So of course I go to the government and I'm like, hey, we should do this like this. So they're like, nah, get out of here. And it's very difficult to get things through to the federal government, right? It's just so much bureaucracy and red tape, and you got to go through this and this. So once they came back and they was like, no, I was like, well, I'm gonna do it myself. So then in 2014, God gave me the idea of Love Create Peace Project, LP3. And I was like, I want to house homeless veterans regardless of their discharge status. So for those who don't know, if you're dishonorably discharged from the VA, from the military, you can't get a penny from the government. You can't get housing, you can't get health care, you can't get money, you can't get anything, right? It doesn't
wow,
matter if you serve 15 years. If you get a dishonorable discharge, it's over for you. I wanted to, one, introduce a bill that has a statute of limitations on that dishonorable discharge, other than if you killed someone, obviously. But like from the veterans that I met, they were being discharged because they were gay. They were being discharged because they smoked weed. It was just like things that you could be like, okay, like, you
yeah,
know what I mean? That wasn't that bad. So I wanted to introduce a bill that had the statute of limitations. They shot all of my ideas down. So I was like, you know what? I'm doing it myself. So in 2018, I'll never forget, we was off from the government because it was Columbus Day, really
mhm,
Indigenous Peoples Day, right?
yeah,
But we were off because the government is closed on that day. So I was like, all right, I'm about to get to work on my business. So it was a building in Philly on Henry Avenue that my husband and I had drove by a few months ago. And I said, I would love to have that building. Well, I searched it, looked it up, and I saw that it was sold to another nonprofit organization. So I called them. I reached out to the nonprofit organization and I was like, hey, I'm Krissi. I work for the government, but I have the nonprofit, blah, blah, blah. So it just so happens, this is God, right? The person who picked up the phone was the COO, right under the CEO of the company, and he was a
Wow.
20-year Army veteran. Tell
Let's
me God ain't
go.
real.
Let's go.
So he's like, oh, okay, I was in the military, and of course I had done my research. So I said, I would like to come in and give you all a presentation of my business plan. They said, let's do it. Set up a meeting. I went in, I blew them away with the business plan that I had. So they had a bunch of houses in the northeast section of Philadelphia that they hadn't been using for years, and it was just sitting vacant. So I said, how about we take those houses? I have a list of veterans that we could get into those houses. And now we start, wrapping services around them. You can make extra money by charging them rent. They was like, okay, let's try it. So we started this pilot program. That was 2018. It's 2024. I'm still partnered with that organization. The pilot program is still going. We've housed about 45 homeless veterans into their own homes since that time. And it's just amazing. It's what I love to do. So that was the first project. So then in response to the pandemic, the city of Philadelphia put out a RFP, a request for proposal, for nonprofits to house homeless individuals. So I applied for the proposal and we won the contract. So that was the second project. So now we have a house with 15 rooms, and we're housing veterans and homeless individuals in their own rooms because, as you probably can imagine, in a congregate style homeless setting, it's like bunk beds. It's like 20 bunk beds in a room, right? That's the typical shelter. So now we're introducing something different because of COVID. Y'all can't be stacked up in a room like that to each other. With each other. So now you have your own room. So now this is a different style of shelters, right? With your own room. So that did so successful. The city came back to me and they were like, hey, do you want to open up another one? And I'm like, I sure do. So then we opened up a second. I mean, this is just, the customer service is so great, and we did so well because of my background in customer service and my background with veterans. I was able to wow the government, right? So they came back to me. Now, remember, the first time I had to apply, but the second time they came to me. I didn't even have to apply. This is how God works. So they're like, do you want to open up a second one? I'm like, I sure do. So we opened up the second one. It's another 15-bedroom house. And this is commercial property. So now we got 30 bedrooms that I'm managing. I have a staff of 12. And I'm just so grateful. I'm just so grateful. I'm like, God, I'm going to be a good steward of these blessings. I'm not going to squander the money. I'm not going to go buy me a Louis purse with the money. Like, this money is for these individuals to help them get on back on their feet and everything. And so that was the third project. So then HUD put out a project, and they're like, we need some nonprofits to provide affordable housing for the seniors and the veterans in the community. So we applied and we got it. So now this is the fourth project. So we got 4 projects now. And, it's just, to me, it's like an adrenaline rush because I love this stuff. Like, I love serving. I love helping. I love customer service. And 97% of the people that come into my homeless transitional houses are Black. They're Black. So we already know that, again, systemically, we're disproportionately discriminated against to housing, financial assistance, benefits, whatever the case is. And so that's why a lot of the people that come into the shelter are Black, and they're the ones that need our help the most. And so I'm just so Man, I'm really in awe of what God continues to do and continues to bless me with, because that's how I know. Remember, I was saying earlier, when doors start to open and
Mhm.
miracles, little miracles start to happen, that's how you know this is the path that God wants you to be on. And I'm helping his people. And everywhere I go, I'm telling people about the goodness of Christ, because I want them to see him through me. Like, the reason why, and you got to see our houses, Shay. I mean, it's like something out of a movie. It does not look like a shelter. You come in, it's a big flat screen TV. They got nice couches. I mean, I'm gonna show you a picture one day. It's beautiful because psychologically, right? I want them to say, "Oh, if I can live here temporarily, I can live like this."
Yes.
So the average stay for us is about 4 months. So before they transition into their own homes. So for 4 months, you get to come into this big, gigantic, nice house. And we have snacks and we have food, and we have chat and chew where they can do coffee and donuts at once a week. We do things, we go on trips, like we're going to Dorney Park on June 19th, right? Like, this is the lifestyle that I want them to get accustomed to. So
Mhm.
now, once you see it, you can't unsee it, right? So now
Yes.
you see this and you come into this. Now when you leave, you're gonna be like, when I was at Krissi's, she kept that place clean. She had snacks, she had coffee and donuts, and they adapt to that. And now this is their new norm. So psychologically, we're doing something too, by not just providing a place for them to live, but what I call is a non-related family. We are
Yeah.
a non-related family here because we're breaking bread together, we're living together, we're going on trips together. It's just like a family, but these are the things I want you to see and do once you transition from us.
That's dope, man. That's Oh man, and it's it kind of goes back to what we were talking about with the kids. Like
Yes.
once you become accustomed to living a certain lifestyle, like you never
Mhm.
want to go back to the other
Right.
your old way of living.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're doing, Chrissy, is phenomenal, man.
Thank
And the
you.
cool part is you're doing something that you love and you're getting paid for it.
Yeah.
Like that's not dirty. Like you're
Right.
supposed to get paid for if you're doing a good job, you're supposed to get paid for it. But you're
Mm-hmm.
doing something that you love and you're making a profit off of it as well, man,
Yeah.
which is amazing. So shout out to you. Chrissy, this has been an amazing time that we've had.
Yes, it has.
And
Yes, it has.
and nobody knows this, but this is our second time interviewing because we had some technical difficulties before, but I knew just based on the technical difficulties this was going to be one of them ones, and it was.
It was. Yes, absolutely.
Yes,
And last
yes.
but not least, Che, I want to just briefly talk about Anointed Purity Podcast,
Please,
right? So
please, please.
it's one of the things that I decided to do again after joining the morning meetup, right? I knew about podcasting, but I had no desire to be a podcaster. But I said, if I'm going to be a podcaster, I got to talk about my love for Christ. I have
Yeah.
to. It's just, man, God just says, we're living in the last days of so much evilness. And at one point, it was so much wickedness and evilness in the world that God actually repented, that, he regretted making humans. He regretted
Yep.
making men, right? Genesis 6:6 tells us God regretted. So I said, well, God, I'm here. I want to be a warrior for you. Like, I want to be on the right side of
Yes.
your judgment. And so that's why I said everything I do, from BOB to LP3 to Anointed Purity Podcast, is all a servant role. I want to serve God's people to, God washed their feet, the disciples' feet. I mean, he was a servant. And
Yeah.
so that's what I want to do. I want to be able to wash our homeless people's feet. I want to be able to wash our Black people who struggling in business feet, and help and show them the love and compassion that's out here. Not everybody's a scam artist. Not everybody's
Correct.
evil. right? I
Correct.
know it's a lot of that. It's very rampant. The news mostly shows that, but there are good people out here, Che, like yourself and me,
Appreciate that.
and most
Yes,
of the morning meetup people, if
absolutely.
not all of them, they just want to help. They just want to serve. And so I'm just very grateful for Princess, which is my co-host in the Anointed Purity podcast, because she has that mindset of a servant leader as well. She wants to get the truth out there. She wants to get the word of God out there so that somebody may hear it, and it not only bring them closer to Christ, but something may click in their mind, and they're like, maybe I should just be a little kinder or show some love,
Yeah.
because that's what it's about. That's what
Yes.
it's about.
Yes, I agree. And there's no, for me, there's no better way to tell people about Christ and what he's done in your life than to be an example of being kind,
Yes.
to being up. Like that's a thing too. Like some,
Yeah.
hey, how did you do that? How did you get to, hey, you know what? Come here. Let me tell you. Let me tell you
Yes.
about let me tell you about God. Let me tell you about my relationship and how he's helped me. And then that
Mm-hmm.
may draw them in to
Yep.
him so they can live a better life. So
Yes. Reach
so
back
what
while
you
you climb. Reach back
absolutely.
while you climb. Yep.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, make sure that y'all subscribe again. I'll make sure I
Yes.
put it in the description below so you can subscribe to Chrissy and Princess's podcast. I'm a subscriber as well. Yes,
I know. We
yes,
appreciate you,
yes. Oh, absolutely,
Trey.
absolutely, absolutely. So my last and final question to you, Chrissy. You've been a gracious guest on this podcast. We appreciate you. Is
Thank you.
where do you see yourself and or your businesses in the next 3 to 5 years?
Let me tell y'all this. Y'all see this logo? BOB is heading for the stock market. Ticker symbol BOB. Okay. There's only about 8 or 9 Black owned businesses on the stock market. We're going to be the 10th. Okay.
Mhm.
Because I just want this. I want this is going to be like the new Black Wall Street. You know how Black Wall Street was so popping and so booming, and it was just so lively, and we was creating our own structure. And I know that we'll never be able to completely disconnect, right? That's not the
Yeah.
goal. But the goal is to create something of our own. Every time we created something of our own, it doesn't matter. There's plenty of examples in history.
Mhm.
However, every time we created something of our own, it was destroyed. And so here I am again. I am my ancestors' wildest dreams. I'm going to relive Black Wall Street through BOB and actually make it to the stock market. It's going to be a publicly traded company. That's the goal. I don't know how long it's going to take, Shay, but the only way for us to get there together is for Black business owners to register your business in the app and begin to use it to search and support Black businesses for the things that you need. Did y'all know that there's a Black owned battery company? There's a Black owned laundry detergent company. It's a Black owned everything. We just
Wow.
need to find them. We just need to be able to search and support them in the app. And that's where that business is going. BOB, right?
Mhm.
Now, Anointed Purity, my goal, we want to interview not only business owners, but we also want to interview celebrities. I believe that everybody has a faith walk, or not.
Yeah.
Even atheists. You've had some type of encounter with a higher power. And we want to showcase those stories. But I specifically say celebrities because that's like a taboo. They always say never talk religion and politics, and those are like my
Yep.
two
Yep.
favorite
Yep.
topics. But I would really like to sit down with like Lil Wayne or Will Smith or you know, just some of those, even Beyonce, you know, they're calling her the Antichrist. What is your spirituality? Do you have a religion? What is your walk with Christ? That I would love, love, love to have that come to fruition. So that's my goal for Anointed Purity Podcast. LP3, we're going nationwide. We're going to have transitional housing programs for veterans all over the country. I just spoke with a person in Texas. You know, Texas is a huge military state, right? About bringing our services there. So I think that's where we're going to be going next. Originally, I thought it was going to be Georgia. It doesn't seem like it, but I'm going wherever the Lord leads me. Okay. But that's the goal. We want to be nationwide and have LP3 transitional housing programs all over the nation. And you know, in MMU, they tell us we had an exercise about dreaming so big that even if you miss the mark, you still land very high because your dreams are just so grandiose. And so that's the dreams and just the things that God has placed in my heart that I believe, just looking at where I started at and where we are now, it looks like we're on a good, the trajectory is looking good.
That's a fact. That is a fact. And guys, if you haven't noticed, this is exactly why she calls herself a Billy Chrissy. And you can see that she's an executor, man. Like, I love, love, love seeing people who take action,
Me
who
too.
not only like to talk about what they're going to do, but they actually do it. I love that. I love it. So I listen, listen, listen. This is not going to be the last time you're going to be on this podcast. Um, but
Thank you,
I
guys.
really enjoyed this conversation, and I love to see you from where you started to where you're going. I see it. I see it, and I
Thank
hope
you.
everybody else sees it too. I'm telling you, man. Like, it's. I think execution too is a lost art as well, because I think people just feel like success is just going to fall out the sky, and it doesn't work like that. Like you said,
And
faith without works is dead.
mhm,
Like, we have the faith part, but where's the action? Like, we
right.
have to there has to be an action too. Like, we
Mhm.
can't just think that the blessings are just going to fall from the sky, because even if they did, how are we going to maintain it? How are we going to appreciate the things that we didn't have any really skin in the game, to your point before?
Mhm.
And we're not going to know how to maintain it because we didn't know how much it took to work hard and believe at the same time to achieve that thing.
Yes.
Chrissy, this,
Yes, we have to. Oh, Che, this has been magnificent. Thank
yes,
you
yes.
so much. I appreciate all of your support. You're like one of my biggest fans.
Let's go. We
You
we
know, just
man.
that encouragement. I mean, you know, because it's not easy. We always say, you know, life is very, very difficult, right?
Yeah.
All types of things. The enemy is always nonstop throwing things at you to take you off track, you know, just make you doubt yourself.
Yep.
You're not worthy, imposter syndrome, we don't deserve it. All these negative thoughts we tell ourselves and we think. But when you take a moment and say, man, look at what God has allowed me to accomplish, that I will never leave you nor forsake you starts to really resonate in my mind. Like, okay, God, you right, you right. I shouldn't even be thinking like this. Why
Yeah.
am I letting the enemy take over my thoughts? And
Yeah.
then and then you hear somebody like your voice, or you know, a David Shands, or even a Sparkle Bailey or a Miss BB, right? And you're
Yep.
like, I believe in you. I see where you're going. Keep going. You got this. You
Yes.
can do it. And then you start to, you know, get your
Yeah.
confidence back up, and you like, okay, I can
Yes.
do it, you
Yes.
know. But man, life will knock you down. But guys, you have to keep going. Just keep going. I pray. I'm begging you, if you don't do anything else, if you have a vision, this God placed something in your heart, just start and don't stop. I don't care. Remember, I said BOB came in 2014. 2024, we're just now starting to pick up momentum, right?
Mhm.
It's never really an overnight success. It just
Correct.
looks that way.
Yeah.
But just keep going. Don't
Yes.
stop. Don't give up.
Yes. 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 And one last thing I will mention, and it happened. I think it happens to all of us, and I don't know if this needs to be a more of a conversation piece. Is that the imposter syndrome, the fear, the doubt, all the things that run through your mind with seemingly successful people. Like we all have this thing in our head, and there's doubts that happen. And to hear you say that was encouraging because I had that too. And I'm like, yo, what's wrong with me?
Me too.
But there's nothing wrong with me. But that's the enemy doing his job.
Exactly.
And one thing that I got from a book that we just read was talking about our wins and writing down 3 wins at night
Hmm.
before you go to bed,
Yep.
writing down those wins because those are the things that you'll think about.
Hmm.
And big or small, we got to write down the wins because that will be top of mind when we go to sleep. And then
Absolutely.
we'll meditate on those things, meditate on these things, the good things, right?
Yes.
So we have to do that as well. Like that's majorly important to our psyche, to our mental health, especially when we're trying to accomplish goals and the enemy is just enemying. You know what I'm
Enemy.
saying? Yeah. So Krissi, again, man,
Yes.
thank you so much for joining us today. Hopefully, people have gotten value out of this, and hopefully, your story has helped them to keep going or
Yes.
stop if they're getting that anxious I gotta go, they could stop and like, nah, Krissi did that and it didn't work out well for her. Let me chill and not do that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Or start another business that makes more sense to what I got going on. So
Yes.
thank you so much. Appreciate
Thank you, Kay.
it.
I
Yeah,
appreciate you, my brother.
no
God bless
doubt.
you and your family. I
Yes.
know this will not be the last time I'm going to be on Wealth is a Journey because in a year or so, I've got to come back and tell you all the challenges and the
Yes.
wins
Yes.
that we've gone through to get to that next level. So
Facts.
I
Facts.
appreciate you and keep doing your thing, brother. You are a light, a beacon of light and hope in this dark world that we live in right now. So keep shining bright. I'm so proud of you.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And hopefully
Yeah.
again you guys have got some gems, got some nuggets, and we will see you next week. Wealth is a journey.